Hello, 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 and welcome to Miss Hope's Reading Hour. Happy, wonderful Wednesday to you all. Hopefully, you had a good day so far. Hopefully, you had a terrific Tuesday and that your Wednesday was wonderful. And if it wasn't, guess what? Wednesday is not over. So, it could get better before the end of the day. And it kind of already has because you're here for Miss Hope's Reading Hour. Welcome to all of our regular viewers and to any people who it's your first time tuning into Miss Hope's Reading Hour. I am Miss Hope and I'm so glad that you are here. Hopefully your wonderful Wednesday was wonderful so far. How was my Wednesday? So I will let you know how all of my week has been. So remember last week when Miss Hope was not on because she had homework? Well, homework is pretty much all Miss Hope has been doing because I have until the 31st to get all of my stuff done and I have made very good progress. Okay? So, just to be honest, this subject for today that we are talking about, Miss Hope can relate to it a little bit. I'll tell you how later, okay? But before we get into everything, we have a couple of things that we need to say. First off, our disclaimer. Now, you know the music that you hear every week and the books that we read. Unfortunately, Miss Hope does not own the rights, copyrights to any of those things. But thank goodness they are here for your listening and reading enjoyment, right? So just had to put that out there. And also, Miss Hope's Reading Hour is still looking for donations. Donations, monetary donations, meaning money, or actual book donations where you send me books. How can you do that? Take a look down here on this ticker right here is all the information that you need. So to donate to Miss Hope's Reading Hour Library, you can Cash App. Just so you know, the Cash App or any monetary donations that you give, 100% go to Miss Hope's Reading Hour Library to buy books to present to you all. That is what it goes for. So you can donate via Cash App at HOPEGM. That's all one word, all lowercase. And that is the Cash App handle that you can donate monetarily for me to buy books. I'm really trying to get to buying the books, but I'm so busy reading other things for my class. I got to just press order because I got them in a shopping cart. I have them there. Trust me, I got them. Okay. Anywho, the other way that you can donate is by sending digital gift cards, and you can send those to the email that's listed in the ticker. Also, if you want to send me books, like you just have books and you're like, my children are older, I just have these books laying around, I will send you the books, Miss Hope. Guess what? Let me know that. Excuse me. Send it to me in the email and I will give you the details to be able to send me those books. Okay? Now, my friends, let us get to the books that we are reading today. The subject, if you noticed on Facebook or, you should see the teaser on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube. Sometimes you guys don't get to see the teaser on Instagram, but I'm thankful for all of the viewers on all of those platforms. If you saw the teaser, you know that we are talking about trouble at school. Now, we all know, because we've all been through school, and my young ones, you are still in school. Some of you are in school face-to-face all day. Some of you are hybrid, where you're in school sometimes and virtual sometimes, and many of you are still virtual. But I think that sometimes we still have some of these troubles that we're going to talk about today in school, whether you are virtual or whether you are in person. Okay, so we're going to talk about those things today. Our first book is called Rosie's Story. Now I've been waiting to read this book. I'm like, what book am I gonna put this with? But we're reading it today, Rosie's Story. So this is written by Martine Gogol. If I butchered it, I apologize. Illustrated by Noella Young. Rosie's Story. And we will find out who the publisher of that book is once we start reading it. And we have a book that is in just a long series of classics. When you see the characters, if you didn't see the teaser, you're going to be like, oh, my older young ones and adult ones. You'll be like, wait a minute, I know those stories. So we got a Berenstain Bears book. There's so many Berenstain Bears books. We've read some here on the Reading Hour. We may read some more, but we're talking about the Berenstain Bears today and the title, Trouble at School. Isn't that what we're talking about today? Let's see what type of trouble either brother or sister bear have gotten into at school. And so these books are by Stan and Jan Berenstain, okay? And of course, my friends. Hello, Miss Kate. So glad to see you on today. We are still trying to find out who stole New Year's Eve. I was about to tell you what happened the last time we were on. We're going to talk about it when we get to the book, because we might find out some juicy stuff today about what Eve and Alex and Sophie are going to find out. Yasmin's not in the mix yet. She's still not feeling Eve. So she's not in the mix yet, but maybe she will be. All right, friends. Now let us get to the books. Oh, Miss Kate, Rosie's story just made me think about you and your hair. All right, Rosie's Story, written by Martine Gogol. Who is the publisher of this book? Mondo Publishing. This is a Mondo Publishing book. All right, Rosie's Story. Rosie Wilson has red hair and freckles, but Rosie wanted to be different. I wish I looked like everyone else, she sighed. I wish I didn't have red hair and freckles. She's cute. Rosie's grandparents thought she was beautiful. They had photos of her everywhere, on top of the television set, on the piano, in the hallway. But this didn't make Rosie feel any better. She simply hated her red hair and freckles. One summer, Rosie's family moved. When she started at her new school, there were 17 other children in her class. 5 had blonde hair, 9 had brown hair, and 3 had black hair. Rosie was the 18th child and the only one with red hair and freckles. The others called her Carrots, Strawberry Shortcake, Firecracker, and even Dragon's Breath. Meanies. Rosie was miserable. She didn't let herself cry, but she got a terrible headache from holding back the tears. I hate my red hair and I hate my freckles, every single one of them, she said to herself. Rosie told her parents that the other children at school teased her. "Oh, Rosie, we think you're beautiful," said her mother. "And even if you weren't, what you are like inside is more important than what you look like." Her father gave her one of the biggest bear hugs and said, "Don't you worry about the others. Just ignore them. They'll soon get tired of teasing you." That never feels good. Rosie hoped that what her parents said was true, but every school day was the same. "Hi, Sparky. Keep away from the redhead match. You'll get burned. Run, fire, run." Oh, they are some meanies. Meanies, I tell you. Every evening, Rosie spent an extra long time in the bath. She's tried to scrub the freckles off her arms and legs. Every night she wished on a star that the color of her hair would change. But every morning she looked in the mirror and saw the same freckles, the same red hair, the same sad little face. One day, Miss Clark, Rosie's teacher, announced a picture storybook competition she wanted to tell them all to enter. Each child was to write a story, make it into a book, and bring it to school the following week. That night, Rosie sat at the kitchen table and sobbed. "What is the matter, Rosie?" her mother asked. "I have to write a book for school and I can't. My head is full of sadness. No ideas will come. There's no more space. I'm just an ugly girl with hundreds of freckles." Oh boy. "Why don't you write about how you feel? It might make you feel better, and it might help people understand," Rosie's mother suggested. "The others would think I'm silly," said Rosie. "They'd laugh at me." "Why not give it a try anyway?" said her mother. Rosie didn't like the idea, but she couldn't think of anything else. Rosie didn't want to draw attention to herself, so she decided to write a story about a boy with red hair and freckles. She named him Rusty. Let's see about her story. The following week, everyone brought their books to school. Thomas read a story called "The Frog Who Wore Spectacles." Everyone giggled at the funny parts. And Eartha read a mystery. Everyone clapped because the ending was such a surprise. Alice read spooky ghost stories, which made everyone squirm and gave them goosebumps. Sound like good stories. Let's see about Rosie's. Then it was Rosie's turn. She read her story in a low voice. Nobody giggled. Nobody clapped. Everyone looked down at the ground in silence. Rosie waited. The teacher waited. Finally, Miss Clark said, "Well done, Rosie. Your story meant a lot to me. When I was a girl, I was so skinny. People joked that I would blow away. I know exactly how Rusty must have felt." Polly raised her hand too. "I do too," she said, blushing. "I used to be plump, and everyone called me Dumpling. People even laughed when I ate ice cream." Ooh, people can be so mean. Let me see something. Okay. "People tease me because I like to tap dance," said Carlos. "But tap's not soppy. It's really hard to get the steps right, but when I do, I feel great. If people are mean about it, I just picture them lining up to see me when my name is in lights." And Sally added, "When I first got my glasses, I was called Four Eyes. I raced home from the bus stop and threw my glasses in the trash. I felt like Rusty when people laughed at me because I didn't understand multiplication," said Maya. "Same here," said Andrew. "You see, everyone feels bad when people make fun of them," said Miss Clark. "Understanding that you should think of other people's feelings is one of the most important lessons you can learn." The children finished reading their stories. Then everyone voted for the one they liked best. Miss Clark counted the votes for each story and announced the favorite story was written by Rosie Wilson. Everyone shouted, "Good for you, Rosie!" The others clapped and cheered. Rosie's face went red as her hair, and for a moment, her freckles disappeared. The end. Wow, that was a good story and a good way to get the others in her class to understand how she's feeling. In this story, it was talking about people being a bully and being mean. Trouble in school, that is one of the troubles that happens when you're in school. The trouble with feeling different and knowing that you're different. I had the Four Eyes thing happen to me before. And my name to you all is Miss Hope, but Hope is actually my first name. So people used to make up a whole lot of rhymes about my name. And a lot of times it didn't make me feel very good. Good thing that Rosie wrote this story about Rusty to show people, it doesn't feel good when you talk about someone or tease them. Also, that everyone can understand what that feels like. You have to think about other people's feelings. And one thing that I've always told my students is, of course, you don't tease anybody for any reason at all, especially about things that they cannot control. Rosie was born with beautiful red hair and beautiful freckles on her face. I love freckles. I think they're the cutest things ever. And she can't control that. You can't control when you're born with really thick hair. You can't control what color your hair is until you're an adult and you can color it the way you like. You can't control whether you're short or whether you're tall. Some people, it's just in their genes that they're more plump than someone else. Your genes, not your Geans, but your Genes. They're more plump or more skinny than someone else. I always tell my students, before they saw you today, they looked in the mirror and they knew that they were skinny or plump or tall or short or had long hair or short hair. They can't control that. So you definitely don't pick at people about things that they can't control and that are beautiful for them. Her red hair is beautiful. I've always loved red hair. I've always thought that people with red hair, and especially when they have a lot of freckles, I think it's beautiful, okay? Can't pick at someone because of their skin. I used to get picked on because of the deep brownness of my skin. And people said very mean things. Kids said very mean things. But just like Rosie's parents, my parents told me to be proud of my beautiful brown skin and my curly hair and even my name. And as I got older, especially with my name. I wanted to live up to it and not get rid of it. Okay? So remember, those things that you feel like you want to change about yourself, they are beautiful, beautiful things. And even if it's something that's really hard that you can't control, like there's children in wheelchairs or have deformities, but there's beauty in the fact that you are strong enough to persevere even with that disability. So the things that you can't change, a lot of times they are beautiful, and you got to teach people how to deal with them. And when you teach them how to deal with them, they'll come around to say, I understand how that feels, and I'm really sorry for making you feel bad about the unique things about you. Very good story, and a lot to learn. Parent friends, especially teacher friends. Good book to put in your library, Rosie's Story. Now, let us get quickly to trouble at school. What trouble are the Berenstain Bears going to talk about? Okay. Trouble at School by Stan and Jan Berenstain. Oh, yeah. Gotta find out. Oh, and this is a first-time book. Uh-oh. I think I skipped the page. Did I? No. Though brother and sister bear are usually very healthy, they occasionally caught a cold. So when brother came home from school one day sneezing and wheezing, Mama Bear knew just what to do. She took his temperature, tucked him into bed, and went right to the phone and called Dr. Grizzly. Sneezing and wheezing and a temperature of 101, said Dr. Grizzly. Keep him in bed, give him plenty of fluids, and keep him home from school until his temperature is back to normal. Mama followed the doctor's orders, and little by little, brother's temperature began to go down. I feel a little better, he said. May I get out of bed? I'm afraid not, said Mama. The doctor wants you to stay in bed. But there's no reason why your stay shouldn't be pleasant as possible. But there's no reason why your stay shouldn't be as pleasant as possible. Papa, she called, would you bring up the portable TV? Oh, how nice. The portable had a remote control, and pretty soon brother was having a fine time switching from one cartoon show to another. When he tired of TV, he got out his comic books, and when he tired of those, Mama brought him his dinosaur collection. There was no doubt about it, except for his sniffles, Brother Bear was having a pretty good time. So when Sister Bear brought home a folder of schoolwork for him, he hardly looked at it. He was much too busy having fun. I guess so. Other than being sick, you had all the comforts. But while he was at home having fun, his fellow students at school were hard at work. In the classroom where Teacher Bob was teaching a new math lesson, they had learned to add, subtract, and multiply. Now they were learning to divide. On the soccer field, where Coach Bruin was getting the team ready for the big game against Beartown, Cousin Freddie, he called, take brother's place at forward. He's out sick. Yes, sir, said Freddie. This was the chance he'd been waiting for. It wasn't until brother was all better and ready to go back to school that he remembered the folder of work. Oh, well, he said, I'll study it on the bus. But that's where he heard about Freddie and the soccer team. He was so upset, He forgot all about studying. Brother Bear. When Coach Bruin had extra practice during early gym, Brother became even more upset. It wasn't even watching Freddie take his It wasn't easy watching Freddie take his place on the team. Then, when Brother got back to class, Teacher Bob said, "I certainly hope you studied the work folder because you're going to have a quiz." "A quiz?" said Brother. "On what?" "On division, of course," said Teacher Bob as he handed out the quiz papers. Oh boy, Brother. Brother might have managed even then. He was good with numbers and might have worked things out if only he'd been able to concentrate. But all he could think about was Cousin Freddie out there kicking field goals while he sat on the bench. Oh boy, Brother. The quiz was a disaster. Not only did Brother get every problem wrong, but Teacher Bob wrote on the paper, "Very poor, must be signed by parent." Brother didn't know which was worse, the soccer mess or the quiz disaster. But what would he say to Mama and Papa when they asked him how things had gone at school? He was so busy feeling sorry for himself on the ride home that he didn't notice that Sister was coming down with a bad case of the sneezes and wheezes. "Oh dear," said Mama when she saw Sister. "You've caught Brother's cold. Into bed with you." She and Papa were so busy attending to Sister, they forgot to ask Brother how things went at school, and he didn't tell them. Oh boy. And the next morning, when the school bus came, Brother didn't get on the bus. He hid in the tall grass until the bus was out of sight. The squirrels and bluebirds were puzzled. Brother was usually happy and cheerful, but not this morning. This morning he looked unhappy and angry too. "Phooey!" Brother shouted, kicking a stone. But kicking the stone reminded him of soccer, and that just made him even angrier. The bluebirds took off, and the squirrels scattered. "Phooey on soccer!" he shouted, stomping through the woods. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Grasshoppers hopped. Toads stood still and pretended they were bumps on a log. Oh, he was upset. But only about the soccer, of course. "Phooey on school!" Not so. Brother shouted, stomping out of the woods. Pansies hid their faces. Ladybugs flew away home. And he said, reaching into his school bag, "Phooey on division!" He had come to the top of a big hill. He took out the quiz, folded it into a paper airplane, and sailed it high into the air. The hill overlooked a swampy, overgrown bog. As Brother watched the quiz circle and swoop, he noticed something out of the corner of his eye. A familiar house at the edge of the bog. I wonder whose house that was. Grizzly Gramps was working on a ship model when he heard the knock. Gran was making cookies. They weren't expecting visitors, and they certainly weren't expecting Brother, especially during school hours. It didn't take long for the whole story to come out. Gramps and Gran listened quietly as Brother told them about catching cold, the folder of work, the soccer mess, the quiz disaster, the missed bus, and the paper airplane. "Come with me, young feller," said Gramps. I want to show you something. Let's see what it is. Gramps took Brother by the hand and led him deep into the bog. There, he said, that's what I want to show you. It was a very old wagon sunk almost out of sight in a muddy pond. How did it get there? Asked Brother. It wasn't easy, said Gramps. I went to a lot of trouble getting that old wagon into this swamp. Then, with a twinkle in his eye, he said, just the way you did getting in over your head at school. I hear a story coming on. A story and a story. It happened a long time ago when I took a wrong turn, just the way you did when you didn't study that schoolwork that Teacher Bob sent home. Well, instead of admitting my mistake and backing up, I just pushed ahead until I was in so deep there was no getting out. And you lost the wagon, said Brother? Yep, said Gramps. But I learned a valuable lesson. If you find yourself on the wrong road, don't just keep going until you're in over your head. Back up and start over on the right road. How am I going to do that? Asked Brother. Oh, I think we can manage. But first, look over there, Gramps said, pointing. There it was, the paper airplane caught in a berry bush. What do you think they'll say? Asked Brother later as they bounced along in Gramps' pickup. We'll find out soon enough, said Gramps, pulling to a stop in front of the big tree house. And let's not forget Gran's bag of cookies. They're her finest. Mama and Papa weren't exactly pleased when they heard about the big mess. Brother had gotten himself in the big mess Brother had gotten himself into. But they didn't holler or pound the table either. Not even Papa. He looked like he might be going to when he saw the paper he had to sign. Gramps had tried to flatten it out, but it was still pretty wrinkled. What happened to this? He asked. Brother's gotta tell it all. Oh, said Gramps, it just sort of got folded a bit. That's when he brought out Gran's cookies. There were 10 of them. Let's see now, he said. There are 5 of us, counting sister. So how many cookies do we each get? 2, of course, said Brother, dividing them up. Don't look now, young feller, said Gramps with a wink, but you just divided 10 by 5. Is that all there is to dividing? said Brother. That's all, said Gramps. Come along, said Mama in a no-nonsense voice. Where are we going? asked Brother. To school, Mama said as they got in the car. But it's so late, protested Brother. It's never too late to correct a mistake, Mama said. And off they went. Brother got to class just in time for a retest. The class hadn't done very well on the division quiz, so Teacher Bob was giving them a second chance. Brother really concentrated and did better. And that afternoon, he got a second chance at soccer, too. It was the day of the big game against Beartown, and things weren't going very well. Beartown must be a pretty tough team. Brother, said Coach Bruin. I want you to go in for Freddie. I don't think he's quite ready for first team. Glad to help, Coach, Brother said as he ran out onto the field. You know what they say, it's never too late to correct a mistake. The end. Trouble at school, them Berenstain Bears. We've all been to that place. Well, maybe not all of us. Some of us are very studious and know what we have to do. But sometimes we put off our work. We have a lot of extra work to do. Now, I will say, I did some work, but there were a few assignments that if I didn't put them off, I wouldn't have so much work to do right now. But it's never too late to correct a mistake. I have done all of those assignments and I'm caught up with what I need to do now. This is a very good lesson of that. Do what you can do now because it's going to meet you later. And when it meets you later, it's going to be a big mess. Like that test was, like that quiz. Then you got to own up to your mistake. You can't hide it because guess what? As soon as you come out of hiding, your mistake's going to come out of hiding with you. Okay? So if you can fix it as soon as possible because it's never too late to fix a mistake. Good lesson. Another good one, my teacher friends, my parent teacher friends. Another good one for teaching a good lesson. Now. Where are we? We are at Who Stole New Year's Eve by Miss Martha Freeman. Okay? So, let me clue you in on what happened in the remainder of chapter 11. A lot happened in not even a whole of the last chapter, okay? So, in chapter 11, let me see. In chapter 11, Alex, Eve, and Sophie were still at Bub's house having soup, okay? Because, of course, Bub makes the best soup in town, at least on Chickadee Court. And so they're telling, because Sophie is used to the detecting. Bub is used to the detecting. Sophie is the newbie. So they're telling her about means, motive, and opportunity and how you use that in your detecting. Then Bub gets a phone call and he seems like really distressed with the phone call. It's someone from the police station. Officer Christials happens to be there too because he comes to relax, have some soup, watch some TV on his break. So someone calls from the police station. They keep Bub on the phone for quite a while. But then when he gets off, he says, Alex, your mother wants to see you and your friends down at the police station in 15 minutes. You could have been down there before now if the person who called would have let me off the phone to tell you. So now we have to find out what is it that Alex's mom wants with the kids down at the police station. Does it have something to do with Ice Eve, the ice sculpture, being missing? Does it have something to do with the secret tips that have been coming into the police station and we still don't know what the tips are about? What is it? Or is it something else? We're in chapter 12. Now we got to find out what it is that Alex's mom wants with the kids down at the police station. Chapter 12 of Who Stole New Year's Eve. Officer Christians dropped Eve, Sophie, and me off at the College Springs Police Department. In the lobby, we could see Mrs. Price at her desk on the other side of a sliding window, like in a doctor's office. She was on the phone. Miss Price is round and has frizzy blonde hair that she tries to keep in place with a headband. She likes clothes in pale colors like blue and pink and yellow. So she looks like she's wearing pajamas, even though she's not. College Springs Police Department, we spring into action for you. Thank you for holding. May I help you? She said into the receiver. Then she caught sight of us and grinned and mouthed, "I'll be right with you." The volume on the phone must have been turned up loud because we could hear the caller's voice without being able to understand the words. It was a man, and Miss Price looked annoyed. I guess a lot of people who call the police department have bad attitudes. Miss Price listened for a few moments, frowning. Then she did something surprising, looked up at us, and winked. After that, she repeated exactly the same words she had said before. "College Springs Police Department, we spring into action for you. Thank you for holding. May I help you?" The caller went ballistic. Miss Price interrupted him. "No, as a matter of fact, I didn't hear a word you said. You were on hold, which is why I thanked you for holding. Perhaps you're not familiar with the concept of hold. It means you're there and I'm not. I might be on break. I might be dead. Oh, there's my other line. So sorry. Please hold for the next available operator who, come to think of it, will be me." Miss Price pressed the button, put the receiver down, rubbed her ear, and smiled at us. "Let 'em learn a little patience. How are you doing, Alex? Long time no see. Hello, Sophie. Where's Yasmin?" Oh, great. This time, Sophie said, "Practicing for choir auditions." "Seriously?" said Mrs. Price. "Well, Yasmin was never short of nerve, that's for sure." "And you are?" She looked at Eve, and I introduced the two of them. "Nice to meet you," Miss Price said. "Any friend of Alex's and all that?" Detective Parakeet is in her office. Besides me, she's the only one here today, even though we've got crazy nutballs. She looked at the phone, calling us nonstop. Take this guy. He hasn't left us alone since before Christmas, claims there's poison bombs on the highway, and we're not doing enough to. Angie? Mom appeared on the other side of the window behind Mrs. Price's desk. Miss Price swiveled around. "Yes, detective? Could you buzz the kids in, please? Then set up that video call to Bellberg. Mr. Yoder is expecting it." "Who?" She nodded at the blinking lights on the phone. "Have you got on hold? We're still waiting for Mr. Glassy, right?" "Mr. Glassy? The director of the ice carnival?" Miss Price looked down at the phone on her desk and shrugged. "Could be he's on hold. I haven't had a chance to pick up all the lines. As for the one I did, I don't think it would be wise to name names in front of the children." "Detective, do you?" "You mean it's our tipster?" Mom asked. Miss Price nodded. "Right. He's that crazy professor. Oh, shoot. Oops." She looked at us again. Mom sighed. "He's not crazy. He's just afraid of losing his funding, like everyone else at the college. Try to be polite, okay? Then find out what's become of Mr. Glassy and go ahead and set up the conference call." "All that?" Miss Price said. "Yes, Angie, all that," Mom said. Miss Price sighed a long-suffering sigh, then buzzed us in. We followed Mom down the hall to her office. On the way, I thought about the tipster guy. He must be the same one Mom talked about 2 weeks ago. the day of the Jensen's party. But what was the rest of that stuff? Poison bombs? And what did Mr. Glassy have to do with anything? In Mom's office, I noticed she had a copy of the Middle Daily Times on her desk. On the front page was a big headline about something called fracking. "Where's Yasmin?" Mom asked. This time, Sophie and I answered together, "Practicing for choir auditions." Mom held up her hands. Okay, just asking. "I hope she makes it then. She usually loves detecting," I said. "Yes, Mom, we know. Anyway, Eve is getting the hang of this really quick." "Excellent," Mom said, "because this is a remarkable crime, one that must have been executed with military precision. Still, we are lucky in one respect. There have to be plenty of people who know what happened. The thief only had a short window of opportunity to take all those statues, or he would have been spotted. Our extra ice carnival patrols were going through town every half hour. The thief must have had help, and lots of it." Sophie, Eve, and I looked at each other. What was she talking about? All those statues? Mom touched her hands to her cheek. "Oh my goodness," she said. "It's been such a crazy morning. I forgot I haven't even had a chance to tell you." "Tell us what?" Sophie said before I could. "It's not just Ice Eve that's missing," Mom said. "It's all the Ice Carnival statues. 18 of them." What? Chapter 13. We had a million questions, but Mom said there was no time. There were only 5 minutes till the video conference with Mr. Yoder. "But who's Mr. Yoder?" I asked. "And why are we even here?" Eve answered the first part. "Mr. Yoder's my uncle." Mom nodded. "And you're here because you're investigating the disappearance of Ice Eve. There's got to be a connection between it and the thefts downtown. Since it's a couple hours round trip to Bellburg, we're saving time with this video conference thing." "But what does my uncle know?" Eve asked. "You don't think he's a thief, do you?" "No, not really," Mom said. "And if I knew what he knows, I wouldn't have to talk to him. Since all the sculptures came from his studio, it seems like a good place to start. And there's something else too." "What?" I asked. "Izzy Glassy is threatening to shut down Ice Carnival if we don't get the sculptures back. Except for Mrs. Miggins, the downtown merchants are in an uproar, and that means the chief of police is too." Miss Price shouted from the conference room, "I need some help in here." Mom said, "Oh dear," and we all got up and went down the hall. Miss Price doesn't have any more skill with electronics than she does with old-fashioned telephones. And when we got to the conference room, the whole place seemed to be possessed by demons. The TV screen that drops down from the ceiling kept rising and falling. The laptop on the long table flashed blue to black to blue, and an ominous hum pulsed from the wall speakers. Without a word, Sophie held out her hand to Mrs. Price, who gave her the remote control. Sophie studied it for a second, then pressed some buttons. Right away, the TV was still, the hum was gone, and the laptop displayed its usual icons. Mom and I are used to this, but Eve said, "Wow." Next, Sophie sat down at the laptop and asked, "What's your uncle's name and screen ID?" "James Yoder," Eve said, "but I don't know anything about an ID." "I'll look it up." Sophie tapped some keys, and a photo of a bearded man, Eve's uncle, filled the computer screen. "How did you do that?" Eve asked. Sophie started to explain, but I tugged both earlobes, so she stuck out her tongue instead. "Fine." Then she pressed another button, and this time Eve's uncle, live and in person, appeared on the TV above us. He was blinking as if he wasn't sure how he'd gotten there himself. "Hello?" Mr. Yoder said. "College Springs PD? Are you there?" "We are here," Angie Price said. "Where are you?" "Here," said Mr. Yoder. Mrs. Price looked around the room. "No, you're not." "I mean, I'm in my studio in Bellburg," Eve's Uncle Jim said. "Well, there's your problem," Miss Price said, "because Bellburg is actually there." Mom rolled her eyes. "Angie, we can take it from here. Nice to see you, Mr. Yoder. As you've heard, there's been some trouble. This is a case we need to solve quickly, and we hope you can help." The view we had of Mr. Yoder's studio showed him next to a counter with a sink in it. Behind him was a window that looked out on a driveway and a water tank. "I hope so too," Mr. Yoder said. "Bad enough the weather's been so warm this year. Then to have the sculptures go missing, it boggles my mind. Who would want them?" "That's just what the police want to know, Mr. Yoder," Mom said. "Can you think of any reason anybody might do this?" Mr. Yoder shrugged. "Because they're setting up a competing carnival somewhere? Because they flat out don't like ice carnivals? But who doesn't like ice?" Eve whispered to me, "That this case is easy. It must be that toy store lady." "Maybe," I said, but in reality, I couldn't believe Mrs. Miggins would go to the trouble of stealing 18 sculptures, 19 if you counted Ice Eve. "Mr. Yoder, I have a question," Sophie said. "How much does each of the ice sculptures weigh?" "Anywhere from 200 to 1,000 pounds," he answered. "For the big ones, you need a hoist to lift them. The smaller ones, you can get away with a strong back and a hand truck." "But you'd need a truck to get very far with one," said, got tongue-tied. "But you'd need a truck to get very far with one," Mom said. "Absolutely," Mr. Yoder said. "And you can only put about 4 in a pickup at a time." "So I'm just trying to picture how this operation took place," Mom said thoughtfully. "Someone who either had several trucks or one heavy-duty truck and a trailer stole into town in the middle of the night and very efficiently carted off all the sculptures. There had to be a swarm of people involved." Mr. Yoder was nodding. "Young people, most likely, people with strong backs." "Uncle Jim, I have a question," Eve said. "Are ice sculptures worth a lot of money?" "Depends on what you mean by," Mr. Yoder began, but his voice was drowned out by a dog's long, low howl. "Marvin!" He turned his head. "Cut that out right now!" The howling stopped, and Mr. Yoder apologized. "I don't know what's with old Marvin lately. He usually isn't interested in the studio at all, but these last few days he's been dying to get in here. Maybe there's a dead possum in the ductwork. Now, where was I?" "Prices," Mom said. "Ah, yes. Smaller ones are around $250, and the big ones are up to $1,000. But when it comes to the College Springs Carnival, those prices are more in the realm of theoretical." Mom frowned. "What do you mean, Mr. Yoder?" "Only that the carnival hasn't paid for this for years yet. Or last year's either, come to think of it. It's not usual for a client to be behind, but it's becoming a problem. I hope they get their finances worked out soon. Artists have to eat too." "Interesting," Mom said. While Mr. Yoder had been explaining, a tanker truck had pulled into the driveway behind him. The truck was red. with a picture of a black Halloween cat and the words, Frady Brothers Fracturing. We scare up the gas. Uncle Jim heard the truck, turned to look out the window, and called, Rudy, can you? A voice from off screen said, I got it, boss. Mr. Yoder turned back to face us. If you don't mind, I've got some cleaning up to do around here. Mom looked at Eve, Sophie, and me. Anything else, kids? While I tried to think, Mr. Yoder turned on the tap in the sink beside him. The faucet was just visible at the right of the screen. And as I watched, something strange happened. But it was so quick, I couldn't sort it out. First, Mr. Yoder looked surprised. Then he said, Dang it! Uh-oh. And the screen flashed white. After that, there was a poof. The sound cut off, and the screen went black. Oh, well, my friends, we will end there. That was the end of chapter 13. On our fabulous Friday, we will be on chapter 14. What is going on? Not only is Ice Eve missing, all of the other 18 ice sculptures for the Ice Carnival are gone. From 200 pounds to 1,000-pound sculptures missing. Who took them? If there were patrols every half an hour, who could take them in that amount of time? What happened to Mr. Yoder's sink? What went poof? Why was the fracturing person there? Why does the dog want to keep getting into the studio? And you know, Alex has a little knack for understanding what animals are saying. Will he be able to understand the barks and the howls of Marvin, the dog, the way he understands Luau and Eve's dog? I'm sorry right now, I can't remember the name of the dog. Marshmallow, there you go. Will he be able to understand Marvin? Always, Martha Freeman, your books have so many twists and turns. And then, who is this tipster? They said he's a professor. They gave a little nugget into who this person is. So the tipster is a professor. Is it someone who works with Eve's dad, Professor Henry? Or is it someone who is against what Professor Henry is trying to do? My friends, we don't have enough time. There's a lot going on in the story, and we got to find out more about it on Fabulous Friday. Well, my friends, we are at the end of Miss Hope's reading hour for today. I'm so glad that I got to be here with you all. When I get off here, I will be going on to do some more homework. Get done what I can get done now. Fix my little mistake, okay? Well, my friends, remember, no teasing people, especially for things that they can't change. Remember how it felt for you to be teased. And remember that you don't want to make somebody else feel like that. And get done what you need to get done now. And if you don't, fix the problem, the mistake, as soon as you can. And then if you don't, still fix it. Because, as Gramps said, it's never too late to fix a mistake. Okay? Well, with all of that being said, my friends, thank you so much for being here on Miss Hope's Reading Hour with me on this wonderful Wednesday. Have a very thankful Thursday. Find something to be thankful for. And I will see you right back here on our Fabulous Friday, right here on Miss Hope's Reading Hour. Until then, my friends, see you.